Thank you so much, Helen, and great to see you all here. Thank you for coming. It's an exciting day, and I wish you all the very best of luck. Thank you very much indeed for all the work you've done and for the submissions that you've made to this award ceremony. And like Helen, I'd like to just extend my sincere thanks to the judges. We don't pay them, we just ask them to help us and work with us and come round and visit you all. It's quite an onerous task, but they almost always say, please can we do this next year, because it's just so inspiring. My friend visits expensive hotels. This is one in Italy, and it's a 5-star luxury hotel. And he sent me this photograph on his phone, and he said, what do you think they put that chair there for? Ponder that. I'm not quite sure why you would want a chair in an expensive hotel in the toilet. Somebody obviously thought it was a good idea, though, and they put it there. The problem is that they actually didn't communicate why it was a good idea to anybody else. And having done it, actually it's not very clear what they achieved. If I could give you one tip about how to win, this award ceremony is not about having a brilliant idea, parking it and leaving it. That is not what improvement is about. And very often we see departments, institutions, etc., where they're like an ideas factory, but they become a sort of graveyard for burnt-out ideas that don't connect. So improvement is a much more careful science than just having a great idea. So we don't often get complaints, but sometimes people say, well, they win and we didn't win, when they were just repeating what happened down the road. Well, actually, what they probably were doing was demonstrating context and adapting and adopting an improvement. It's not just about who you know either, but if you look at page 3 on your program, do you remember a game called Where's Wally? You look at a picture and try and find where Wally is. It's an unfortunate thing. I don't mean it in a pejorative sense, but there's a tall man who crops up in all the teams. He's not available for hire, and getting him into your team won't necessarily guarantee your success. The second main tip I would give you is read the instructions. It's really heartbreaking to see good improvement actually not making it through to an award because it hasn't been written up very well. And what we try to do is to give you lots of hints on how to fill in each of these sections. But what's in common with all of your abstracts, your storyboards that have been shortlisted, is that you've followed this logic, and it is a logic sequence very closely. So it says, and if you look at the titles in the program of the storyboards, they're all very, very clear what they're about. So we want to know who you are and what you do as a department or team. We want to know why the problem was a problem. Very often, again, what we tend to do is go piling into a solution. We've introduced so-and-so, or we've invented this, without saying, well, actually, what was the problem that you were trying to address? And then what was your analysis of that problem, which made your solution and your thinking about the solution relevant? And then we get into the strategy about how you think you're going to improve your measurement. We love, love, love measurement. You cannot improve without doing measurement. What did you observe to be the effects? And again, where storyboards say, we did this and it improved, or we got another award for it, or the patients were happy, we don't believe you. We do want to see your analysis of the effects. What were the lessons? And preferably the lessons are, we need to do more. And what are the messages? I hope you've all got this now engraved on your eyeballs. This is really the summary of that logic sequence. And the IHI got this down to 3 questions. They said, what are you trying to improve? How will you know that a change is an improvement? And how are you going to, and what change are we going to try? So this is very much about what's the problem we're addressing, how are we going to analyze what we're doing, and thirdly, how will we start our improvement process? What's the relationship between the solution we're trying and the problem we're trying to address? And again, what you've all done fabulously is to make those connections. And where people aren't successful is where that's not clear. I want to just illustrate this with an example that you probably won't know much about. It's a pharmacy example, and we all know that patients have problems with their medicines, and one of the evidence-based interventions there is to reconcile versions of prescriptions. And if you do that when patients come into hospital, then things get better. You get less errors. So what this unit did, and it happened that this unit was in Cardiff, was they said that in order to address their problems of medication error and harm from medicines, they would improve their medicines reconciliation rate. And they did it, first of all, in a medical admissions unit. And this is a run chart. This is what they did and their progress over time, and what they measured was the percentage of all prescriptions that they managed to reconcile. This isn't a measurement of the outcome. It's not telling you whether harm reduced, but what it is doing is it's saying we are going to make sure that we've chosen this solution. We're going to make sure that we sweat this solution enough so that it becomes reliable. And they used a run chart the way we love people to use run charts, because what they did was they peppered their run chart every time that they made a change to their process. When things weren't going well, they started off with 30%. That wasn't good enough. So what they did first of all was to pilot a new form. And lo and behold, not much happened. So the form wasn't the solution. What did they do then? Well, they printed the form that they got. They were happy that they trialed it enough. And seeing that still their rate of uptake wasn't good enough, they got a letter to go to from all the clinical directors to prescribers, etc., to encourage them to improve. So in a lot of improvement projects, they would feel now that they've done the job. They've decided they need a form, they've produced the form, they've written a letter telling everybody to damn well do it, and what happened? Nothing. They're still flatlining at 50%. So what did they do then? They then asked a different group of people to do the job, and when they did that, the rate went up. Now, most of you don't know much more than I do about medicines reconciliation. But in 2 minutes, I've told you an improvement story, and I think that improvement story is clear. And it uses precisely the model that we're encouraging you to use. It involves this virtuous circle of planning a change, doing the change, studying the change, and then acting on your findings. It involves repeating these PDSA cycles so that you get better as you go up, and you're also scaling up your change. So once in Cardiff they got good at this in the medical admissions unit, it's then time to scale it and go further. And you can represent that chart, that run chart I showed you earlier, in these terms. So I've chosen that example. I could have chosen a number of other examples from your storyboards here today. But that is the model that we're asking you to use, and that is the one which will help you be successful. So it's the model for improvement, and very soon we will be launching into a very major training programme for all NHS staff in Wales to ensure that everybody has a shared understanding of a simple, clear way of improving services. It's about using that framework, it's about looking at the evidence to see what would work, and it's then about measurement to help you succeed. And if you do that, you'll win. I guarantee it. You might not win here because everybody else will be doing it, but actually the same method will be in use right across the improvement world. And I'll mention in a moment something about the bigger improvement world. There are many, many resources available. Sorry, I'm just trying to, that's it. Available to you to tell you about this method. And the simplest and easiest one is this little pocket guide, which is on the table on my right. And we've written that in a number of versions for nurses, for students, etc. But I mentioned about the bigger world. As we've been doing this over the last 5 years, as Helen said, the quality of submissions in Wales has just got better and better and better. And things that won 5 years ago wouldn't have got a peep today. And a side effect of that getting better and better and better is that we are now really punching our weight internationally. And the IHI and BMJ, who run a conference every year in Europe, taking posters and storyboards from all the countries of Europe, they took 23 storyboards from Wales, and asking around Wales, I don't know anybody who had a rejection from them. Their rejection rate overall was 60%. So we know that getting good at this means that we can actually contribute to the world of improvement, and actually that means that Welsh delegates are going to conferences and learning more and actually becoming world class in this improvement work. So, just before I finish, I want to just tell you one thing, and that is that the international forum that I just mentioned, the IHI-BMJ forum, next year will be in London. And although that's less glamorous than trotting off to Paris, perhaps, it will be somewhat easier to get Welsh delegates to a London conference. And we are really keen that we blast the London conference next year. Everybody who had a storyboard shortlisted today, and I would suggest many who didn't have a storyboard shortlisted today, your work is up there, and it is certainly of the standard that will compete for the London conference. So please take that extra 10, 20 minutes, look at the submission format for IHI, which is almost identical to ours, and maybe you can update your results a little bit and make a submission for the IHI conference. And just to help you even more, we are hosting a WebEx on the 24th of July, which you can get the details online there, and we will be giving you tips from experts who've been there and done that, people who have worked for IHI, to give you tips on how do you get your storyboard submission to be successful and accepted at the IHI conference. So, in summary, you're all fabulous, the work you're doing is fabulous, and I really want to help you and support you, as do colleagues around the room, with resources and advice. And it'll be just wonderful to see Wales continuing on a progressive path to punch above its weight. And finally, can I just wish all of you teams the very best of luck today and the very best of luck with the IHI and your continuing work. Thank you. Thanks, Helen.